Once again, we're looking back to 1998 to see what else is hidden deep within the Biohazard 2 official guidebook. This time, to examine these beloved characters, we'll combine the character profiles and the Q&A with director Hideki Kamiya. Stick around because there's more from the Q&A in the second half. And we finally got the answer to, who's Tony? I'm Will from Raccoon City Cinema, and welcome to part 2 of Resident Evil 2 Secrets from the Guidebook. The first character we'll talk about didn't get a profile in the book. Even better, they got their own gruesome novelization about their final moments, and a few questions in the Q&A. Because you deserve the best, here is the perfect person to give us a summary. From Kendo Gun Shop, Joseph Kendo.
While guarding the entrance to the gun shop, the only safe place in his mind, Robert found himself clutching his Remington M1100P shotgun until his fingers turned white. He wondered, how much longer must he wait to wake up from this nightmare? Robert noticed something moving beyond the thick display window. Dread flashed through his body as he recognized a familiar face. One of the dead looking back at Robert was the owner of the clothing shop a few doors down, Arukas. The two had gone to a bar just a few days prior. The glass couldn't hold the weight of the zombies, and Robert was knocked to the floor before he could aim his muzzle. As he was being ripped apart, he felt like it was a scene from another world. He became numb to his sense of pain and reality. He held back a smile as he thought, it's just a dream. Just a dream. Ever wonder why Robert Kendo didn't lock the door? Well, Robert, nicknamed Bob, was hiding behind the counter, holding his breath. He was worried he would be discovered if he moved carelessly. Actually, zombies came in from the back door and left towards the main street, and he didn't have time to lock the door. He lets his guard down when Claire or Leon enter, and as a result attracts the attention of the zombies. Despite the Umbrella logo in his shop, he is not related to the company, but it was placed there to show how deep Umbrella is ingrained in the town.
And a big thank you to Joseph and Robert Kendo. Their videos are as finely crafted as a Samurai Edge. If you haven't already, please check out Kendo Gun Shop on YouTube. Leon S. Kennedy.
What have we got here?
A rookie police officer. Interested in the frequent bizarre incidents around Raccoon City, he volunteered to be assigned there. His sense of mission and justice is extremely strong, and he is so dynamic, it's hard to believe he has no on-the-job experience.
You're a cop, right?
One of the factors that led him to become deeply involved in this incident is the fact he was extraordinarily late for work, arriving after dark on his first day. There aren't many clues presented during the game to infer Leon's personality. However, the Jeep he took on the trip to Raccoon City seems to be his favorite car. And hey, he didn't crash it.
Leon, you're gonna need to take the controls.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
The fact he carries a lighter, even though there's no scene where he smokes, reveals an active young man who likes to spend time outdoors. He is also skilled at handling the Desert Eagle, a military-issued pistol he acquired. His skill with firearms is far beyond the level of an ordinary police officer. Although his background prior to his appointment is unknown, he seems to have very high survival skills. The Q&A chapter of this book has Leon's reason for being late, or should I say infamous reason. It says, right after graduating from the police academy, he was assigned to the Raccoon City Police Department. Although Raccoon City was a rural town free from violent crime, the recent number of strange incidents got Leon very interested, and he volunteered to be assigned there. On the day in question, of course he had to start work in the morning, but when it was time to leave the place he was living, he had a big fight with his girlfriend about whether they would break up or not, and the move was postponed. Eventually, it seems they did decide to break up. Leon drove all night to Raccoon City before Inauguration Day without having decided where he'll live. However, at a motel along the way, Leon got drunk and had a rough time. He was so drunk that it was past noon when he woke up. It says, it may sound like a bad thing, but it's typical of Leon who's sincere about
Women.
Leon rushed out of the motel, but there was no response from the police department, no matter how many times he tried to contact them. He thought, at this rate, it's going to be night by the time I arrive. Oh well, I'm already this late. Afternoon or evening, it's all the same. Leon drove his car to the rhythm of his favorite music from the car stereo. At the end of the straight highway, the bright red Arkley Mountains loomed eerily in the setting sun. Stepping away from the guidebook for a second, in the official English version of the Resident Evil Archives book, his story is a little different. It says the reason he was late for work was a party the previous night. He had gotten drunk in a motel, trying to forget about the pain of breaking up with his girlfriend. I can't say why they felt the need to specify he was having a party. Maybe taking liberties, or maybe they didn't want him to be seen as a sad drunk. Claire Redfield.
Hello?
She is an active and curious college student who freely rides a motorcycle. 2 months have passed since she lost contact with her older brother Chris, a member of the Special Forces unit of the Raccoon City Police Department known as STARS. Fearing a connection to the bizarre incidents rumored at the time, she came to Raccoon City alone. She is strong-minded and has a tendency to be a bit of a daredevil. She never relies on others, which sometimes annoys Leon, whom she met by chance.
Claire! Claire! Wait!
She is also very dexterous and can pick a simple lock with a safety pin, a feat not normally seen in a female college student. Her hobby is tinkering with motorcycles. She loves to buy an engine and build it to her style. She currently owns 2 bikes, the white one and the black one. Most people on the vast American continent use cars for transportation, and many of those who ride motorcycles do so out of a deep love for biking. Claire, who has ridden long distances to Raccoon City, is a hardcore motorcycle rider.
I'm finally here.
She also has an unsuitably large survival knife over her shoulder in the style of her older brother, a clear indication that Chris, who is 6 years her senior, has been a major influence on her.
Not bad.
I never thought any of this stuff my brother taught me would work.
Her ability to use a grenade launcher with ease may have been instilled in her by Chris, who has served in the military. Unlike Japan, America, where gas is cheap, is a car paradise. To ride on open land at high speed, a motorcycle that is blown by the wind is a little unsuitable. Claire is a biker with a policy, which means biking is her thing, if you didn't already catch that. From the Q&A, there's a line you might have seen that I think is misunderstood. It says, Claire has a lot of boyfriends, but doesn't appear to be dating anyone in particular.
What are you trying to say?
I showed this to half a dozen Japanese people, and they all did a double take. It's not the Japanese word for boyfriend, kareshi, it's the English word boyfriend. So naturally, we'd translate that as boyfriend, but everyone I showed it to told me boyfriend can also just mean guy friend, with a light meaning. And that makes a lot more sense. She has a lot of guy friends, but doesn't appear to be dating anyone in particular. After talking about this topic so much, I think I've come to realize
I never thought my life would turn out this way.
Ada Wong. As you can tell from her name, she is of Chinese descent, and perhaps due to her East Asian facial features, she doesn't appear fazed by the zombies roaming within the police station.
What was that all about?
Which is a really weird way of saying she has a good poker face. She is the lover of the Umbrella researcher John, who appeared in name only in RE1. It seems she came to Raccoon City looking for clues in his disappearance about 6 months ago. She is a woman of few words and exudes an air of mystery. Ada's shooting style is unique in that the barrel is laid down on its side. Okay, maybe not that unique. This style has become popular in movies in recent years, recent being the 90s, and is said to be aimed at preventing the gun from gradually rising due to recoil. Although not officially adopted as a marksmanship technique, one can assume from this that she is familiar with guns on a daily basis. She is also very practical. From the Q&A, there was a plan to include Ada's lover John in a subplot. In order to make up for his complicity in Umbrella's evil plan, he supports the main character from the shadows, even though his own body is infected with the T-virus. And in the end, he gives the player the anti-T-virus bullet to put an end to the Tyrant and dies without ever seeing Ada. The story was to be a combination of zapping, and it was up to the player to decide whether or not John would survive in the end. And that sounds awesome. Only Ada knows if she loved John or if she was just using him.
I know I'm not capable of caring about anyone, but
It's unclear if Ada is her real name. As an aside, Ada is not the only character whose name has appeared in RE1 in writing. If you look at Chris or Jill's ID card, you can see Brian Irons' signature. Brian Irons,
Yes, that's me.
the chief of the Raccoon City Police and well respected as a mild-mannered chief who protects the safety of the city and the lives of its citizens. However, the true face hidden under his mask is one of greed and a long-standing relationship with Umbrella. He has been reluctant to continue investigations into the series of bizarre incidents that occurred in the Raccoon City area, and there are signs that he intentionally suppressed the testimony of STARS personnel who survived the incident, raising suspicions that these incidents were cover-ups for Umbrella. The investigation led by the Federal Police Department revealed that Brian had twice assaulted women when he was a student, a fact that isn't typical of a police officer. He is an extremely dangerous figure that is uncontrollable and has no distinction between good and evil. From the Q&A, despite the commonality of taxidermy in the Spencer Mansion and the Chief's office, it's just a coincidence. Of course, Irons is linked to Umbrella, but his love of taxidermy is a symbol of his insanity, and some police officers rumored that the Chief was making human taxidermy at night.
And to think that taxidermy used to be my hobby.
Some of the stuffed animals may have been given by the Chief. Sherry Birkin, a young girl who quickly fled to the police station after avoiding the strange incidents that occurred in Raccoon City. She was attacked by zombies and was on the run when Claire found her, and they later became friends. She is the only daughter of William and Annette, Umbrella researchers who are deeply involved in the case. She wears a large pendant on her chest that contains a photo of her and her parents. She's an unfortunate girl who is relentlessly chased by a mysterious monster because of a secret she doesn't even know. Because of her studious parents, she did not receive the love and affection she deserved. This makes her extremely guarded and shy, but this can be seen as a reflection of her loneliness. Once she opens her heart to someone, she tends to be very sweet, even in times of emergency, crouching down or wanting to hold hands. It's as if she's trying to regain the love she never received. The name Sherry was taken from the song Sherry by the Four Seasons. And if you don't know it, check it out on YouTube because, as the kids say, it slaps.
Too bad.
It's thought Sherry knows Leon's name without having met him because Claire probably said they needed to escape with a man named Leon. However, there's no explanation why Leon couldn't care less.
Who's this?
This is Sherry.
Okay.
Ben Bertolucci,
What do you want?
a freelance journalist known for his considerable sharpness. Suspicious that the bizarre incidents that occurred in Raccoon City hadn't been solved yet, he has been staying in the city for about a month to report the truth, despite the fact that a large number of people were killed. He had been detained in the RPD jail for investigating Chief Irons' personal affairs, but after the incident, he sensed danger and locked himself in the jail with a key he had smuggled out of the jailer's office. Despite the rumors, he is a first-rate reporter, and is believed to have gathered information on Umbrella from the citizens of Raccoon, who tend to keep their mouths shut. He has already obtained important evidence regarding the series of events. Although he is fussy about money, he is essentially a journalist who seeks to expose injustice and evil to the light of day.
Get that scum. Make him pay.
Here's the interesting stuff I haven't talked about yet from director Hideki Kamiya. I didn't include them all, and I've done some paraphrasing for time. The idea to make the setting in a police station was to create a more desperate situation. In RE1, you were surrounded by a forest, but here you're surrounded by a city of zombies. It became a city of death. It was the idea that even the police station, the symbol of justice that protects everyone, is a nest of evil. Isn't there a feeling of despair that there's nothing you can rely on anymore? The weapons Claire and Leon use are almost all different, so it was difficult to make adjustments in the actual game. When they were choosing which weapons to include, Kamiya didn't like Leon's gun, but Jun Takeuchi, the character motion designer, noted gun nut, and future producer of these, was so excited by it. So if you like the Matilda as much as Leon, you know who to thank.
Speaking of weapons, have you ever looked at the box of handgun ammo and wondered, who is Tony? This is how the item appears in the inventory screen of the retail game. Look closely at it in the in-game world and you'll see that it says Johnny's Arms, albeit Johnny is spelled wrong. Thanks to Welsh for pointing out if we look at an earlier version of the game, Biohazard 1.5, we can see the box used to say Johnny Shirayama, with the initials JS on the left. You can see the likely progression from Johnny Shirayama to Johnny to Tony. But now, who is Johnny? Well, in a Japanese book for Devil May Cry, also directed by Hideki Kamiya, he mentions Johnny Shirayama is the nickname of Kotegawa Muneyuki. Kotegawa is credited as a graphic designer in RE2 and continued to work with Kamiya designing weapons for Devil May Cry and Bayonetta. So Tony appears to be an altered version of designer Kotegawa Muneyuki's nickname, Johnny Shirayama.
Again, a big thank you to Kendo Gun Shop and to my friend Welsh. Check him out on Twitter for more of the amazing Resident Evil and Devil May Cry stuff he digs up. The mouse that spread the virus did indeed become a monster. However, the ecosystem in the sewer collapsed so much that it lost the competition for survival to an enormous cockroach. The helicopter that dropped the Tyrant was in fact carrying spare Tyrants to be deployed where they're needed. And if you've seen Where's Barry's awesome RE3 video, he pointed out where they likely dropped for some incredible environmental storytelling. Check it out in the links. The phone lines shouldn't have worked, so why did the fax come through? It's believed the data temporarily stored in the internal memory was printed just in time. STARS is a special unit within the police department, and faxes sent to STARS are only printed if instructed to by the recipient. It's unknown why, but Kamiya feels that it's some kind of fate that the document was printed in front of Claire. Why didn't STARS appear in this work? Well, Kamiya didn't think they were necessary. Rather, he wanted to make appealing characters as good as the old ones. And bad news for Brad lovers, because it says Brad became a zombie because he's a coward and lives his life in the shadow of the police force. He surely would have taken the chief's side and denied Chris and the others' desperate pleas. After Chris flew to Europe, Brad remained at the police station and became involved in the case. When asked what he'd like to add to a director's cut version of RE2, Kamiya said he'd like to add a harder difficulty, which we eventually did get in the Nightmare mode for Dreamcast and PC. Kamiya also said he wants to add something like a third protagonist and a new scenario, but he wants to devote all his time to the sequel, so we never got a director's cut. When making RE2, Kamiya wasn't particularly conscious of a sequel when he ended the game the way he did, and he wanted the player to bask in the afterglow while ending the game with a bang. He didn't think too deeply about it, but thought, it's cool, isn't it?
It's up to us to take out Umbrella.
When asked about what kind of game he'd like RE3 to be, Kamiya wanted to rethink the original theme and further pursue the expression of fear. He wondered if they needed to create new sensations when we play the game, which is exactly what he told designers working on what would become Devil May Cry. When did the female protagonist stop being a racer? When 1.5 was scrapped, the female protagonist Elsa was reworked from a college student racer who knows nothing about the Umbrella incident. Everything from her appearance to costume was changed because they thought, if she's Chris's younger sister, let's make her cooler and lively. Claire had become a strong enough personality that she no longer needed the title of racer. What kind of game was Biohazard 1.5? The stage layout was almost the same. However, the first police station was a fairly modern building, a normal office building. You could enter the factory, warehouse, production lines, and so on. There was even a scene where you ride on a trailer bed. The zapping system wasn't like the one we know now, but one per person. There was a scene where Ada briefly appeared in the female protagonist's scenario, and the character of Marvin was Leon's senior officer, who partnered with him until the end of the game. The reason it was rejected is because it was far from something we could proudly say, this is Biohazard 2. If it didn't have the Biohazard name attached to it, it might have got a passing grade, but we didn't want to release it as Biohazard 2. When asked what the Birkins were doing during the mansion incident, it said they were in the process of developing the G-Virus. For Umbrella, both the T and G-Virus were parallel projects, and at that point, neither was superior. Due to Wesker's betrayal, Umbrella lost one of its laboratories, but the T-Virus itself had been secured, so there was no problem. On the other hand, there were already early indications of William's outburst at the laboratory under his control, and Umbrella was steadily advancing a plan to recover the G-Virus from William after his refusal to give it to them. When asked what's textured under Ada's skirt, Kamiya answers, well, that's secret. Instead of that, how many people would check Leon's armpit hair? And that's the video. A lot has changed about these characters since 1998, but I wanted to keep this video mostly limited to their backstories as presented in the guidebook. And it was such an honor collaborating with Kendo Gun Shop and Welsh to bring this info to you. Check out the links down below. And thank you for watching. I'll be back for part 3 someday when we'll look at the monsters of Resident Evil 2.